And then we have to see, do we have any examples in life of anyone having the heart of a child, living it and expressing it, being pure and real, and trying to, I guess you would call it, care about others, that sees the situation of what others are experiencing and would try to be helpful in making a person not have to experience the continuous suffering and unknowingness and things for ever, stuck in psych realms and never get to know how great life, what an experience it could be in the places called the real universe. It just seems like these lessons for man are pretty hard, and who actually is even paying attention to anything other than these psych realms, this physical stuff. Sure, you can eat the best food on earth and you can drink the best water and all these things, but where does it get you? You just end up with a body that only lasts so long. So what is really important, and why would anybody even think that there is such a thing as life after this body is no longer working? What would be the reason to have any ideas at all that we do exist beyond being physical? Would anybody like to express something about that? Why we would think that there are real universes of real freedom?
Well, we get this in our real side experiences. We get a chance to experience these other levels in what people call dreams. So there is a reality beyond the physical that can be accessed, and that's what people like Paul Twitchell and Eckankar, when he had Eckankar, he was trying to educate people to that they're more than the physical body. And right then and there, it opens up a whole new, huge arena, more possibilities and opportunities for a person. Because right now, the way it is, we're conditioned to think this is the only reality, the physical, but there's so much more, really. And then going back to, again, the purity aspect, everybody has free will. And just because you can do something, people do it. So just because you can take advantage of the Indians like the white men did initially, well, they did it, just because they could. It's not necessarily a motive or purpose. It's just because they could do it, they did it. They made poor choices.
Do you see that as the effects of the Indians' causes in previous lives, that they needed to experience what they had done to others in this psych realm stuff, whether it was one planet or another? It had to be done to them because they had done it?
It could have, because there's always a bigger picture of things, but then again, Paul put out this idea that there's this adhi-karma when you come in, this karma where you just get it. You didn't earn it, you just get it. You're just assigned certain things just to get in. Okay, you're coming into creation, so you got to have something to work with. So, you're given certain things to work on or work with. So it could have been that too. That may be just an idea that he threw out there. It may not be. I mean, the way now Dwayne is presenting things, it's probably just an idea, because karma too is just kind of it's cause and effect, but it's just still it's in creation. So it's not the is that we're talking about, which is it's just doesn't relate. It only relates to the creation worlds, karma, and these other ideas. Any idea actually.
Yeah, so many things that we experience in these seemingly countless lives, unless we have experiences. And it seems like these dream visions are seemingly kind of the closest thing that we relate to about having not the physical body. Maybe some people, you hear about the astral project, like Paul Twitchell was giving techniques and stuff for people to get out of their physical bodies to see more, to let them see that they're more than their physical bodies, which some seem to have been able to accomplish, and others, I guess, like myself, would not see it as astral projection that I was able to accomplish, but dreams would be seemingly about as close as getting out of the body as I would know of. And these all these things almost are beliefs, unless a person has experiences. We can say, oh, this and that and that, but unless we've experienced it, or it's like truth. Here on Earth, we talk about chemtrails, and we talk about the vaccines and these reptilians and all these things. Now, a seeker of truth has to prove that to himself that that's truth. A person listening would say, well, they can say anything, and that's their ideas about things. But this real guidance and real education about becoming more aware about life, or truth, or whatever you want to call it, is, there's so many people that are saying so many things. It's endless. And where do we pay our attention? That's, there's, like all those guys, David Icke or Barton Carr, or on and on, the religions and all these things that, the TVs and the cell phone, Facebooks and Skypes and YouTubes, and you see the way that I'm seeing it is that where is a person putting their attention, and that's what's important. If they're just going along with, oh, I've got a good job and a house and a car and a family and food and all these worldly things, well, it seems like that's just going to end when the body no longer works, and then they go to their so-called heavens in the psych realms, whether it's the astral or the mental or something like this, for a certain amount of time, and then to actually have to come back into these physical carcasses, or whatever they're called, bodies, to learn more lessons. Is that just what this cause and effect is all about? That until people have the comparison and understanding about what's real, and in the real universes where a person isn't affected by authoritarians, they're free. It's just, what is really important? What is the message that life would be trying to give us about what it's all about? This pure and real heart of a child being the purpose of life. Think about things like this, or this perception stuff that we like the examples that have been given is we can go to school and see 2 and 2. It says 2 and 2, but we don't know what that means until we eventually learn, oh, that's 2 things, and 2 things makes 4 things. But at first it's just a 2 and a 2, and What does it mean? So all these things about life itself and what's real important, and we've seen this history of mankind that we know of here in the physical on Earth, and we see these things like pyramids and buildings from ancient times, and we wonder about, well, how could the natives have made those kind of things? What abilities did they have to be so precise, and why did they have these pictures of things like flying saucers or space people from thousands of years ago, or beings with serpent bodies and human heads, or the other way around? It's just all this stuff in the psych realms to be dealing with about what life's all about. Anyway, it's just...
You mentioned David Icke.
Yeah.
And, Dwayne was talking the other night about the issues. Actually, we were watching Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, is right now doing a lot of conspiracy type of shows and addressing different issues. And there's a lot of political issues, of course, and climate change, climate debates, and Democrats versus Republicans, and terrorists. There's all these issues, but actually the only issue is whether you're going to wake up, or, whether you're going to decide to wake up, because the issues in a way are distractions. So they don't really mean anything. They're just set up for people to waste their time on. And in this case, Jesse was one YouTube video. He was addressing, are chemtrails real? So he had this guy on, this supposed chemtrail expert, or scientist that was experts on chemtrails, and the guy didn't even know what HAARP was, or hardly. I mean, he knew about it, but he kind of deflected a lot of questions and made it sound, sure, the academia, they would certainly say something if this was true. And then Jesse said, why would they be spraying themselves? It doesn't make sense. If they're really spraying these particulates, their families and children would be also rained on with this poison. So they made it sound very convincing, and finally in the end, he decided, they are just contrails, and people are sincere. They know the government lies to them, and this and that. So I can understand why they think that this is true, that they're spraying poisons on us. So he kind of left it at that. That they're contrails still. But he made it sound very convincing, and he made it sound like he's exposing something, and he does. He exposes a lot, like 9/11 and all that. He talks about that. But this is kind of an area, always chemtrails is almost like a sacred cow, where you don't want to talk. Nobody wants to talk about this because they know they're going to get rid. People are going to get rid of them, or they're going to be endangered. This is something you just don't talk about truthfully. But that's kind of my point, is like, the issue really is not whether chemtrails are real or not. The issue is whether you're going to wake up. Because people know. I mean, people know. There's so much knowledge out there. They know what's going on in a sense. They know that there's a lot of corruption and the environment's dying, that they're just in their la-la land. They want to keep their jobs and their family and, their comfort zone. So they don't want to go there. They don't want to step out into this unknown area. And that's really the issue. It's not that whether, there's Osama bin Laden was behind the 9/11. That's not anything. It's the issue: are you going to step up and do something? Are you going to take the chance and the risk, because it's your life on the line in a way too, for being honest or being real. I wouldn't say honest, but just real and honorable. That's what it's more about. Is really, and people know that, like the people in Ekankar and the people in even other religions and just regular people. They know, but they're not willing to step out. I mean, sometimes they don't know, but we're providing information, and information is all over the internet nowadays. There's so much out there. You can hardly not know what's going on.
I see that there's many things too that aren't actually truth, that they present like it is. They make fake things up, and that seems to be all over on the internet too. That the deception, I don't know what the reasons are that they would make things up, but I guess that's part of just keeping the humans dumbed down to the truth or something. I noticed that when we talk about what is pure and real about the heart of a child, children are always asking why. They want to know why you do this, and why is that happening, and they have this word why, that they seem to go through a stage of always asking why is it this way, or this or that or the other thing. They're always saying why for a certain part of their lives, it seems, when we're young. And that's kind of like what we're talking about, is why it is the way it is here on this earth at this time right now. Why the governments are the way they are, and why the air is the way it is, and why the water is the way it is, and why the food is the way it is. And so called what the why is, the answer is what's the reason? And then we become aware of these things called reptilians and their influence on mankind for their benefit. It sounds like terrible things they do to us, like we do to the animals and stuff. They eat humans, it sounds like, and they torture things for their reasons, for their benefit for some reasons. These whys, why they do it, they just do, but it seems life's just full of all these experiences that makes it hard for us to even imagine how wonderful life can be, where we don't have these influences affecting us about others, causing us diseases by taplining us with their how is that explained? Convincing us that to agree with them that this is a good thing to do, that this is the truth, and all of these things, to become attached to like religions or masters or gurus, or they convince people that, we know something that's real important that you should pay attention to, and if you don't, well, then you're just going to have to be unknowing and unhappy and whatever else, that condition physically, health and things like that. It's just that there's so many experiences that are going on, and there must be some reason in this cause and effect, why it's happening. Whether the full control of the reptilians over the governments and the religions, and isn't it just like they're being teachers? We're learning lessons, and we have the comparison of what is terrible and awful to experience, and then we hear of things like a real universe where everything is wonderful and all the beings are wonderful and it's forever. So whatever it's going to take for mankind, it seems like, or other beings too, in these other planets, from going through all these experiences in these psych realms, that maybe with our free will that someday we'll decide that we've had enough of this stuff, being slaves or soldiers, or for some reasons or others that they've convinced us that this is what we should do. It's just, it would seem so simple if life just would have been in having us like being children and something taking care of us, I guess is the way to look at it, that we didn't have these terrible things in our lives, all the brutal things and the diseases and the poisons and everything to deal with here. But it is incentive to seek something that's better than this, instead of just thinking this is all there is and that there's nothing we can do about it and there's no reason to try. We're very almost like nothing compared to what we even see in this physical realm, where the smallest of dust, you could just call us an atom on an atom in all this hugeness, and running all over and living the way we do with all these vehicles to get around, and going to all these jobs and creating all these bombs and poisons and forcing others by agreement through votes to make that you have to do this or you have to do that or you're going to be locked up or things like that. It's a lot to deal with to try and become aware of a way to these to or out of this psych realm stuff.